Good day everyone, good day Sir Kamali. By the way, let me introduce myself. My name is Pedro Pole Leray Base Criminology 2. So today I discuss the Filipino Nationalism, Chapter 3. So, Filipino nationalism started in the Philippines in the 80s with an upsurge of patriotic feelings and nationalistic ideals resulting from more than two decades of Spanish rule. This serves as the backbone of and continues to this day. The first nationalism revolution in Asia, the Philippine Revolution of 1890s. These nationalistic feelings have resulted to a comprehensive campaign in the Philippines for political, social, and economic liberty. Historical background of Filipino nationalism. The Philippines had been split into various principalities known as barangays. In the years before the 11th century, a name originating from Malayan chief called balangays, datos, raja, or sultan governed these tiny political units. In 1565, when Spanish explorer Miguel Lopez de Legazpi arrived from Mexico and established the first European colonies in Cebu. The European colonization started in earnest, starting with only 5 ships and 500 men, accompanied by Augustinian monks, and further strengthened by 200 soldiers in 1565. He was able to repel completing Portuguese colonization and lay the foundations for the Spanish colonization of the archipelago. The Spanish occupied the kingdoms of Manila and Tindu, 1571, and founded Manila as the capital of the Spanish East Indies. This Spanish colonization united the archipelago of the Philippines into the political unit. The beginning of Filipino nationalism. Originally, the word Filipino referred to the Philippines Spanish Criollos. The Spanish leaders described the natives and Indians during their 330-year rule over the Philippines. The Spaniards born in the Philippines, more known as Insulars, Criollos, or Criollos, were also called Filipinos during the colonial era as well. Spanish-born Spaniards or Philippine-based continental Spaniards were referred to as peninsulars. Those of blended heritage have been called mestizos, despite being considered inferior by the peninsulars. The Creoles had enjoyed numerous roles of the state and church, and composed most of the bureaucracy of government. The feeling of domestic awareness originated from the Creoles who now consider themselves Filipino. Three significant factors: economy, education, and Paris. Secularization brought it into its emergence. These factors led to the Filipino nationalism birth. The Philippines opening to global or world trade, the increase of the upper class, and the influx of Europeans liberal true were just a few instances of how the Philippines became a stable nation. The first manifestation of the Philippine nationalism followed in the 1880s and 1890s with a reform or propaganda movement carried out both of in Spain, in the Philippines, with the aim of propagandizing the circumstances of the Philippines in the hopes that the social, political, and financial life of the Philippines would be changed by peaceful means. Other concept of Filipino nationalism. Nationalism in the secular identification and engagement of our people with the Filipino nation and domestic community. The Philippines as our country and homeland, it goes beyond our family, clan, tribe, village, city, province, religion, local culture, and religion. First and foremost, it is being pro-Filipino, believing that we belong to one body, mind, soul, and spirit. It's a pride to be a Filipino, self-respect as a Filipino, pride in our nation culture, cultural heritage, and manner of life. With their constraints being realized, it involves pride in our heroes, pride in our flags, national anthem, and other symbol of our neighborhood, national pride and dignity, inspired by the willingness to serve our nation alone and with dedication and to sacrifice for it, if necessary, with our own lives, is a tool of a change of reform. It aims our moral and spiritual regeneration, our liberation from ignorance. May God try parochialism and feudalism. Inferiority as a consequence of colonization, bravery, and distorted elitism as a dominant component in same or community. In other words, as Filipino is has a powerful national identity seen as high-minded intent. Filipino nationalism identity based in part on our indigenous values. A. Pagsasarili, self-reliance. B. Pakikisama, equitable sharing and partnership. Pagkabayani, patriotism, pagkakaisa, or national unity and national consensus and discipline. Pakikitungo or consideration, pagkapwa, tao, human solidarity based first of all on in developing our nation, pagkakapantay-pantay, equality and equity. Different way to show Filipino sense of nationalism. Filipinos had already shown their own way of nationalism in the Spanish colonial period. Some fought with their pens and tongues, while others used their arms and weapons. Authority. Everyone had their own way of showing our country their love and respect. Some even died, and were able to get back our country's freedom that we enjoy nowadays. But have we ever noticed how some Filipinos demonstrate their feeling of nationalism nowadays? You could read some thoughts in this portion about how Filipino how some Filipino show our nation their nationalism. To show our sense of Filipino nationalism, everyone must work, act, participate, respect, stand proud, love. Let us work on our own. Act today and participate in the government. Respect everyone, including others. Race. Stand proud for who you are. Love everyone as how you speak, they would love you back. Murag, murag ugma ba? So, first, respect the Philippine flag and value of Filipino identity. Being Filipinos, we should respect our Philippine flags and its purpose. The history and value of this flag are connected to the freedom we have today. encourage our fellow men to participate and respect our flag and its anthem and even our different symbols. They provide us our identity as Filipino or citizen of the beautiful Republic Act of the Philippines. Be productive. Do not rely on everything and then blame our government, but instead make yourself productive and helpful to the nation. Because some of the Filipinos are blaming the government for any adverse things our nation would strike. True, there are some corrupt political position holders, but they're not all. The one issue here is that we really too much on our government then blame them afterwards. We should learn to stand on our own feet and productive and helpful not only for ourselves but also for everyone. Be aware of the issues in our country. We must be aware and updated on the significant issues happening in the country. Extend help to the needed Philomen, especially the victims of disaster like typhoons, flooding, and the like. Naturally, all of us use media in our daily life. We could already demonstrate our nationalism to our nation by using this media. Some of our fellow Filipinos use the authority of the press to extend their assistance to others in the past calamities that hit our nation. They publish some data about how other individuals might be able to assist disaster affected individuals. 4. Stand proud for every achievement. Filipinos are competitive in many ways around the world. They are proud to be Filipinos and to be brought to the nation for the award. For their accomplishment, they unite every Filipino. We can be proud of our Filipino like Manny Pacquiao, the football team Ascals, the basketball teams of Gilas Pilipinas, and many more. Fifth, patronize and support our own products. The Philippines has rich resources to create quality goods and products. The manpower service we provide are also globally competitive. Our economy will improve more if we have ourselves patronize our own products which characterize our creativity, resourcefulness, and industry. In spite of Filipino migration all over the globe, nationalism is also self-evident. Millions Filipino now support goods and products made by the Philippines outside in the Philippines. Everything is visible with the emergence of a world economy based on information driven by free trade, market economy, and open capital markets. The Philippine products live up to standard of quality in all domains. Modesty. And six is preserve the Filipino culture. The Filipino is rich in various colorful cultural elements. They are our identity. Be proud and preserve the culture we have. For they are our treasure. We have to keep them for the future generation. Migrant Filipino who have practically grown most of their life overseas almost always return to the Philippines to explore our lovely beaches and the future attraction a nation with 7,107 islands. Over Filipinos maintain a predict TFC or the Filipino channel subscription to get in contact with every Filipino forget about homesickness while overseas and until the Filipino values that we see in their television. The seven is respect everyone and value our traditional. Filipino are very courteous and respectful. You will acknowledge a Filipino individual everywhere you go because he or she has always been respectful of the elders and others, using the common but certainly classic who, oho, po and opo. Even in modern times, many Filipinos show and value their noble names and tradition. Although Filipino overseas have held themselves as the peak of their interest in the presence of their domestic uniqueness with a passionate approach to political, social, and economic liberty. Filipino may have been plurality in terms of divided island, language, religions, and ethnicity, but they share a common country love and vision for a better Philippines. Speak out our own language. Using our own language is manifesting and preservation our national identity is our unique means of communicating and interacting with our fellow men. Our language is an important tool to achieve further unity and national development. 9. Remember and commemorate our heroes' sacrifice for our country. There, there were many Filipinos who died for our democracy, freedom, and independence. Some fought using their pens and thoughts, while some used the power of their arms and weapons. Each had their own way to way of showing their love and respect to our country and today's generation. Let us value the treasure our heroes sacrifice and devotion for our country. 10. Love our family, our neighbors, and our countrymen. The essence of life most the essence of life for most Filipinos is to create their family and nation a part of their enduring engagement. They many even express their dedication to unpopular choices born to the advantage of the majority. We are strongly committed to our obligation. Filipino, we are strongly committed to our obligation. Filipinos who create an all of all out effort to work and make private sacrifices around the clock over the weekend hard work. These values, combined with an abundant reservoir or patience, have been inculcated by our beloved parents to our youthful minds. Bravery of, bravery of Filipino workers abroad is an ideal evidence of human sacrifices for family love and nation love. Being away from home and dealing with the problems of life in a nation you know no one and risking yourself into many forbidding dangers are exemplary, particularly when serving a well-formulated task of supporting our families' necessities back home by sending remittance that in turn would help increase the economy of the nation and make it more financially stable through monetary assets. So, Philippine symbol that promotes a sense of nationalism. Symbols are very very important to people in quite a lot of countries, especially if these symbols are related to a sense of nationalism. The officially recognized nationalism symbols of the Philippines are: first is the flag, the Philippine flag with red, white, and blue colors and a yellow sands representing the province of the country. Second is coat of arms of the Philippines, also featuring the yellow suns with its rays depicting the original provinces in the Philippines. The third is Lupang Hinirang, Chosin Land, the Philippine national anthem. Fourth is Sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines, symbolizing purity and simplicity. The flower is small, white, and pleasantly fragrant. Fifth is Nara, The national tree of the Philippines, also known as rosewood, it is a strong, sturdy, and durable, a common flourishing tree. 6 is Philippine eagle. The Philippine national bird is acknowledged to be severely endangered. The Philippine eagle is protected by law in the country and there is extreme punishment for any harm done to them. 7 is Dr. Jose P. Rizal, National Hero of the Philippines. Karanyusa or Tinikling, the Philippine national dance. Gracefulness is symbolized by this dance. 9. Garbaw, the Philippine national animal. It symbolizes industriousness and hard work to do its use of many farms in the country. 10. Bangus or Phil's milkfish, the Philippines national fish. It symbolizes versatility because of the many ways in which it can be cooked. 11. Mango, the national fruit. Philippine mangoes are considered the sweetest fruit in the world. 12. Barong, the Philippine national costume or clothing style for men. Untucked shirt of 10 fabric displaying Chinese, Indo, Malayan, tropical and Hindu influences for women. Barot or saya, skirt and blouse with no collar. 13. Bayan Ko and Pilipinas Kung Hal are the Philippine national song. 14. Arnis, the Philippine national sport, stick fighting. 15. Anahaw, or the Philippine national plant. This plant is often used as hot umbrella or fan, symbolizing the Filipinos' resourcefulness. 16. Nipa hut. The Philippine national house, typically a small bamboo house with a thatched roof. Important date, events, and person in the press of Filipino nationalism. The opening of the Philippines to world commerce. On 1834, Manila was officially part of the world commerce after reviving different economic policies. In 1834 to 1873, this is the period of the developing of agriculture in the country because foreigners shared their agriculture ideas. Various sports often in 1855 is Sual, Pangasinan, Iloilo, and Zamboanga. In 1860 in Cebu and in 1873 in Tacloban. Consequently, strong financial activity in the colony was stimulated that made the lives of the Filipino prosperous. Modern farming techniques were introduced that the means of transportation and communication were the most financial advancement, both tobacco, sugar, and tobacco manufacturing. How some Filipinos become illustrators. The middle class or the illustrators or the educated Filipino who, by writing essay, articles, novels, or publication in new journal called La Solidarity Campaign for Reform in the Colony in a Peaceful Way. They were made up to Principalia or those belonging to the Spanish or Chinese miscellaneous indigenous to Filipino or upper class. Their families were equalinous who leased property to the first. Agriculture production evolved during Filipinos opening to the world trade, which led them to become rich. They were able to improve their social status and send their children to European schools. They later clamored for reform and equality, and their children became propaganda movement members. Influx of liberal ideas. Suez canals opening shortened the distance between the Philippines and Spain. This paved the way for liberalism to enter the nation. Europe brought liberal concepts such as equality, freedom, and brotherhood, and the establishment of the Spanish Republic. More Spaniards came to our nation and imparted liberal thoughts to the Philippines. They carried liberal books and magazines with them, not only in the Manila but also in the provinces that occupied position in municipality government. The count of Spaniards is increasing with only a concern to improve material wealth and gain social prestige by gaining authority in society. More friars are increasing colonies keep the Filipinos tightly protected. Secularization movement. The transfer of parishes to the Filipino friars from the Spanish friars was one of the effects of Europe's spreading the liberal ideas. First is regular priests or friar curates. They belong to a specific religious order like Dominicans, Jesus, Augustinians, Franciscans, and Catholics. Only Spanish priests could be regular priests. Second is secular priests or parish priests. These priests were not religious order and were under the archbishop oversight. 1565, religious order that order took control of the parish in the Philippines. These are the Augustinian, Catholics, Dominicans, and Franciscan. Council of Trent. It was stated the secular priest should control the parishes relates to deacons and priests who are not monastics, monastics or member of a religious institute. But few secular priests are accessible because some of them have been sent to America. The importance of 1872 Gumburza execution. It is considered as the beginning of the Filipino nationalism in the Philippine history because the three priests were innocent yet accepted the brutal punishment for the nation. Propaganda movement or reform movement, also known as Junta de Propaganda, Cuerpo de Compresarios and La Solidaridad was founded in 19th century by Lestrados to improve the knowledge of law and use through reforms of or changes implemented in the colony. The founders were Dr. Pedro Paterno and Gregorio Santiago, doctors of law, who laid the foundation of the movement in Madrid. Propaganda refers to the systematic efforts to spread opinion and beliefs by means of pen and term literally means the propagation of given opinion. Propagandist or reformist. These were the Filipino reformists who fled the country to escape persecution in 1872. They did not have the intention of achieving social changes through armed struggle and revolution, for rather they campaigned to reform or change by the right or change by way of writing. They advocate reform by writing books, pamphlet, and newspaper. They were popularly known as illustrators in Spain, England, and France. There are 5 goals of propaganda movement. First is to make the Philippines the province of Spain. Second, Filipino representation in the Spanish courts. Third, equality between Spaniards and Filipino. Fourth is secularization or granting Filipino press the right to hold presses. Fifth is gaining freedom of speech, expression, and assembly. And that's all. Thank you, sir.